Welcome, everyone. I'm Amanda, the Emerging Technologies Librarian at Woodstock Public Library. Today, I am here with Angie Cornwell, who is a registered dietitian from Oxford County Community Health Center. Thank you so much for joining us, Angie. So I'm really hoping today we can chat about sort of your non-traditional approach to meal planning, what that looks like in our sort of busy and modern life, and how we can approach meal planning with some sort of confidence and some flexibility, and hopefully get some tips and tricks to make it a little bit easier and perhaps a little bit less expensive.
Oh, well, you're just asking for the world, aren't you, Amanda? Just fix it all for everyone. Thank you. I do appreciate that. And I think the biggest thing for meal planning for a lot of people is we want to do it. We know it's a good idea. We recognize that it will take time, but it will save time in the long run. But at the end of the day, it seems like a lot of work. And our traditional idea of meal planning is like Meatloaf Monday, Taco Tuesday, Meatless Wednesday, like it would be the same all the time. So that becomes boring. And I have found, I've been doing this for quite a long time as a dietitian, and I also have a busy family as well. I've done the kids in soccer, and you got 20 minutes to make the supper, and you got to be a responsible parent and give them all the food groups, right? We've done all of those things. So trying to figure out how you can still feel like you're doing a good job, but make it fit into your life, I think is really, so the idea here, and I like that you use the word flexibility, because the idea here is there's 18,000 ways to do it. The one that's the best way is the one that you're going to actually do. So I know some people that really like the Meatloaf Monday, and then it's always predictable and the budget is always the same and everybody knows how to cook it and we all know everybody likes it. It's important to recognize that in Canadian families, most of us have between 3, 4, maybe 5, if you're really, really great, standby recipes that we use over and over and over and over again. And I have found clients feel really bad about that. Oh, well, we always have, chicken and potatoes. I'm like, okay, good. I would start a meal plan with that. Know your standbys, know the things that your family likes. You always have the ingredients. It fits in the budget, it fits in the timing. Start with those ones. And if there's only 3, there's only 3. That's totally normal. And then start to look at what are the crazy days. It was Thursday night for me when my sons were very little. I was commuting, full-time job commuting, pick up the kids, 20 minutes, and then soccer practice. And, this is the week that I also have to bring snack. That's a real thing. And you can absolutely pull that off. And that can look very creative. The idea about traditional meal planning is also that we're thinking traditional meals. It's got to be hot. Someone had to prepare it for a really long time. It has to have meat. Like there's all of these preconceived ideas that make it harder to want to do it, because if it's not this, then it's not perfect. Well, let's toss that out the window, because, and I'll tell you, one of the examples that I had, we had, so I called them banana hot dogs, because it's all in the delivery, right? On those crazy nights, I would take tortilla wraps and I would spread peanut butter on them and I would roll a banana in it, call it a banana hot dog. Oh, and I'll give you another tip. If you cut it into pieces and serve it on the side, it's banana sushi. My son at one point said, "Mom, this is great invention." I'm like, well, yeah, thanks, buddy. So we're eating banana hot dogs, and what else did we have? Probably fruit or carrots or something in the car on the way to soccer. Counts as a well-balanced, well-planned supper for my family. And then we would have a more substantial snack when we got home, A, because they were running around, and B, because that was a smaller supper. So there's ways to make sure that you can get the traditional, the things that your family really likes, and the quick and easy, and still feel like you're doing a really, really good job. Mm-hmm. The planning piece is pick a day. It's nice if it's a high energy creative, like if your thinking cap is on kind of day, to plan, because I'm going to tell you, I don't know about you, Amanda, but for me, it was the thinking of what to have for supper was much harder than the just cook it.
I agree. Yeah, it's the planning, not the execution.
No, if you tell me what to cook, I'll cook it all day long.
That's right.
But coming up with it for two reasons. It does get repetitive and boring. Yeah. And you also, and I can speak as a mom here, it doesn't actually matter what you pick. When someone says what's for supper and you say whatever it is, somebody's going to make that sound.
Yes.
Oh, man. So let's make it so that this is a shared responsibility. I was the main cook, but I wasn't the main meal planner. We did that all together. So as my sons, like 3 and 4 years old, and they were starting to help, everybody got a night that they got to have their favorite. So, you know, there was a lot of nights where my son only picked chicken nuggets every time he picked for many years, but then it was only once a week. So I didn't get tired of them. Right.
That's right.
And all they had to do was make sure you pick something from every food group and we'll call it supper. So there was a night where we had, you know, let me see, it was the weirdest supper: chicken nuggets, soybeans, cut up cheese, and like, I don't even remember, was it potatoes or something? Like just the weirdest combination. Whatever, man, everything's represented. We got one person that's really happy. The rest of us know we get a turn this week.
That's right.
So we get to pick, right? So that also allows for introducing new foods to kids. They're comfortable. We're talking about different things, and I can still buy all the stuff at the grocery store.
That's right.
So one of the ways, that's one of the meal planning techniques that I used quite regularly, so that I only actually had to think of 3 suppers a week. And my other 3 people in the house would think of 3. And then there was always the one that was, you know, we always had homemade pizza on Friday nights. That was our thing. So it was easy to have your standbys, have some input, and then make sure you've got everything ready to go. Grab your stuff at the grocery store so that as you planned for the week, you've planned the fast one for the night you don't have enough time. You've planned the homemade pizza for when you have time to make the dough rise, that kind of stuff. I think it's also helpful to know that has shifted in my life. My sons are very, well, I'm going to say old. I got men now. That's just what it is, right? And they eat like men. So I can't, we still take votes of what people would like, but it is a little bit different in how we pull it off. So I will, and COVID has changed how I meal plan as well. I have a new deep freeze. So I have stuff. So on Sunday night, I pulled 2 or 3 things out of the deep freeze. Well, I know over the next 4 days, there's going to be chicken, there's going to be beans, there's going to be pork. But I don't necessarily know how I'm going to cook it because I've kept all of it's kind of like a choose your own adventure way of meal planning, the way that I do it. So it's planned, but flexible. So I know there's going to be chicken this week, but there's 3 or 4 different ways that I can cook it that everybody likes. And I've always got those ingredients, right? I've always got noodles and peanut butter to make peanut chicken noodles. I've always got Greek seasoning and potatoes to make souvlaki. I've always got breadcrumbs so that I can make homemade chicken fingers or chicken parmesan, which is a new thing that the kids have graduated from nuggets to to chicken parm. It comes, everybody. It comes. It's not nuggets forever. So there's a lot of things that I can do with that, and I've always got the basics, right? I've always got rice, potatoes, spices. I've always got frozen veggies, canned veggies. At the beginning of the week, I've got my fresh veggies because I want to use those up before they go bad. So those kinds of ways of planning is more of a, what do I have in each category? What do I have for the proteins this week? What do I have for the grains this week? What kinds of vegetables are on sale this week? You know, this past week, broccoli heads were on sale at Food Basics. So we had broccoli twice this week. Next week, it won't be that on sale. It'll be something else so that I can kind of adjust the meal plan. Although the skeleton is the same, I'm still going to have a protein and a grain and a veg, but how I choose what they are is based on what's on sale, what people like, and what kind of storage space I have available.
Yep.
So those are all the flexibility pieces that I can see. That can be really, really helpful. And I can tell you, this breaks my heart a little bit, but pre-COVID, I used to do a spice class here at the health center that was very popular. I would have to run it 2 or 3 times a year. And I still rely on those spices. We would make our own, right? So I have at least a dozen different spice mixes that I will make myself so that I have those choose your own adventures available to me. So I have a Greek spice, I have a Moroccan spice, I have a Italian spice, all available to me at any time, so that chicken becomes what I want it to become based on what I feel like. So that's where the flexibility comes in. I might not want to make chicken tonight. I might want to make it tomorrow night. Well, I've only pulled it on Sunday. I've got 4 days in the fridge that I can use it. So I've got a little bit of flexibility. If it's still a little bit frozen, I can chop it up and make it into noodles, but I can't make chicken parm if it's a little bit frozen, because that's just a soggy, gross mess. So those are the kinds of things that you can kind of start playing with when you get really comfortable with planning main meals.
Right.
One of the other things I'm just going to mention, I'm sorry, my timer went away, so I don't know where I am. There we go. Oh, I'm doing good. I'm doing good. The last thing that I'm going to mention here is a lot of people also think that traditional meal planning is, I know exactly what my breakfast is, what my snack is, what my lunch is, and what my supper is. And I'm going to say, let's pull back from that, because when it's too specific, it's overwhelming, and then we want to give up. That's a very human nature type of thing. So recognizing that I'm going to make a main meal every day. I'm going to purposefully plan for leftovers. That's something we'll talk about next session. So that I'm using energy, but eating twice, like cooking once, eating twice, or 3 or 4 times, very, very useful. But then I can also make sure that I don't necessarily have to know what each breakfast is, but I have 2 or 3 options for breakfast.
Yeah.
I don't necessarily have to know every single lunch, Monday lunch versus Thursday lunch, but I know what my options are, and I know that I'm going to make some leftovers. And then I've got that one meal. Most of us have it for supper, but I've had a lot of clients who their main meal is at lunch instead. Whatever, it doesn't matter. But then really arranging your whole meal plan around that so you can have some spin-offs, essentially, can be really helpful. And I'm happy to cover that in our next section.
I love that. And I love this idea of keeping the variety in your meals and that bulk sort of purchasing, and then staying flexible with what you're going to do with what you purchased. For me, we're a family of 5, and I focus a lot on, like, I make sure I always have lots of protein sources ready to go and lots of veg, whatever that looks like. And then it's easy to add in a grain or a potato or something like that and stay flexible during the week. And it's more appealing, because sometimes you plan for a meal and that doesn't mean you always want the meal. So yeah, I love that approach.
Yeah. And I think even just having not leftovers, backups, right? Things that we know everybody likes that I can pull out and be done in 15 minutes.
Yes.
So at my house, that's frozen tortellini. Like at any minute, if what I don't want to cook pork chops and I've still got a day and I've had a rough, really stressful day, I switch it out for one of my backups. I think that's a reasonable, real life kind of going with the flow situation. I don't think that that's giving up or copping out. I think that's coping well.
I think so. And you know what? Sometimes when we have these options, they're just good, better, best options. And we don't always have to go with our best option. Sometimes good enough is frozen pizza and carrot sticks.
Call it supper and move on.
Move on. That's right. Yeah. I love that. Yeah. Great.
Thanks.